Okay. Apologies, everyone. I hope you can see this. I'll give you a couple minutes because originally this was in a previous broadcast or link and something's happened. The link broke and I don't know why, but Facebook lost the tech. And so here we are again with a fresh start. So in this webinar, I'm going to be covering a few elements of weight loss. There are a lot of myths about a weight loss transformation and what role Banting can play in this. So I want to teach you a whole bunch of stuff that we've learned over time. So we've been doing this for 8 years now, and a lot of people who joined our program are doing like Banting for many years before that. And so what I want to do is give you a breakdown on what you can do to master your weight. Okay, and just in terms of context, like mastery is a generic topic that covers many different disciplines. So we're going to be looking at mastery as a general topic and then just applying it to weight. But when it comes to mastery, the same rules apply to mastering absolutely anything. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I want to just take you through a few slides. If you've got a question, please drop your question in the comments. If you have a comment, leave a comment in the comments. And if you want to chat to any of my team, hello, Vanessa. Vanessa is one of my team members. She'll be here to help you out. If you have any questions, let me just push the share button. And here we go. Boom. All right, so weight loss mastery. These are just a few of our clients who have taught us about mastery and weight loss. And so I'm just going to walk you through. This is Tessa. She lost a ton of weight with us, and she's amazing. She's now a coach after doing some training and getting certified. This is Jane Vors from originally South Africa, now the UK. Nicola Diggle, who hails from Oxford, and Margie Hackett, who lives in the Hof, otherwise known as Kirstenhof in Cape Town. Hello, Tessa. There you are. That's Tessa in the picture. And if you look in the comments, you'll see Tessa in the comments on Facebook. She is a real person. Okay, the before and the after picture. So what we're going to cover today, we are going to look at the study of one. So I'm going to explain the concept of the study of one to you. Then I'm going to tell you about what to measure when. So when people start a ketogenic journey, there's like a ton of different stuff they get told to measure. So I'm going to explain a few of the key measurements and when you should measure them and how seriously you should take them. And then I'm going to talk about a few tweaks you can make to take your journey to the next level. And then there are a few surprises at the end. So if you stay tuned, you'll get the surprises. Okay, so for those of you who haven't watched one of my talks before, I just need to give you a little bit of background. I'm the guy in all of these photos, except for that's Tim Noakes, and that's obviously not me. And basically, my journey through my 20s was about transformation. So I started off as this trashy teenager, and through a whole bunch of work throughout my 20s and 30s, actually, I've transformed. And so many people think that I'm the chef behind Banting and I've cooked all these recipes. But what my real passion is actually transformation, because I changed from being like a trashy dude to being, a successful author, entrepreneur, etc. And so my passion is to bring transformation to the world. And at the moment, I'm using food to transform lives. But I'm much more interested in how people can change their behavior than I am in the food itself, even though the food is a huge part of my life. And then this is my wife. So she's been fueling my journey the whole time. I saw her transform. We broke up in 2010 and we got back together in 2012, and she had lost a whole lot of weight. And I just noticed a complete shift in her. And it really inspired me to dig deeper into weight loss and how food can make such a massive impact on someone's life. And then we got married and had 2 kids, and she battled with her weight again. And recently she's lost all that weight again. And it just reaffirms like how valuable the work is that we're doing. Because if you look at this picture, she just looks so happy and radiant. And so that's the person I get to spend every day with. And it's because of the kind of work that I do at Real Meal Revolution. So I'm inspired every single day. But I've learned so much more from my clients than I've learned from reading books. And Kate's the furthest thing from a client. I don't give her any advice, but she's taught me a lot. And then I've lost a bit of weight myself. That's me at 100 kilos. And this is me earlier this year at 80 kilos. So I know how to lose weight myself. Okay, so these are many iterations of the Banting food list and Banting products and Banting sort of aftermath, all this stuff that happens after the Real Meal Revolution came out in 2012. And so I know that everyone who put a Banting product together put a lot of effort into it, and it's really cool that people wanted to offer more goods and services to this bursting movement and increase in demand when Banting exploded in 2013. By the way, it was Real Meal Revolution's birthday yesterday, so we are officially 8 years old, ready for prep school. And what I wanted to just explain was the difference between those lists and our list. So this is an iteration. This is probably like list version number 20 before my third book came out called Banting 2.0. And we had a team of, dietitian, coaches, staff, writers, everyone just looking at these lists going, oh my goodness, how do we make it all make sense? Because we try to implement practicality, which is much more difficult than implementing data and tech. And so this is the level of detail and debate. This was like iteration 5 of this round of the lists. And so there's a lot of debate and a lot of reason behind the way the lists were assembled. But it was obviously up to personal choice, and they were created in a very democratic way. And so what I hope to clear up for you is like what the golden rules are and how flexible they are for each of you. And that's what we're going to talk about in the study of one. So stay tuned. You're going to find out a lot about what the lists mean. Our goal is to change 100 million lives through food. We want to enable 100 million people to take back their power by the 28th of February, 2025. And so far, we've had 2.4 million people download these lists. I think it's actually 2.6 million. I must update the slide. But the point is that a lot of people have downloaded these lists, and when they download the lists, we have empowered them. But just like you can't make the horse drink the water, we've given you the like our version of the food knowledge, and it's up to you to see whether or not you take it on. So enabled people to take back their power is very different to giving people their power back. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the study of one, and then I'll talk about what we measure and tweaks for breakthrough. But stay tuned because there is a little deal that I'm going to give you at the end if you're keen. So the first thing to know about Banting is that I originally thought it was a high performance diet. And what happened was after the book went out and we started going to talks, I started to see a lot of people coming in with health problems. And over the years, these are issues that have been reported by our clients that have improved. So they were very angry about the fact that they tried so hard to diet and they couldn't get it right. Skin irritations all the way through emotional experiences around food, physical experiences from food, insomnia, drowsiness, aches, pains, heartburn, blurred vision, the muffin top, flabby arms, all the things that come with excess weight. And then some serious medical conditions, type 2 diabetes, IBS, risk of heart disease, acne, dull, greasy hair, like all of these things that were related to nutrition. And so I'm not saying that that Banting will cure all of these. What I am saying is that people who took our program reported that these things had gone away. And it's well understood on other Banting websites or low carb websites that many people who go on a ketogenic or low carb diet are able to reverse a lot of these issues. I think the emotional issues are more complicated, but in terms of physiology and biology, these things improve when your health improves and when you lose weight. And Banting and keto really help people lose weight. But today we're talking about mastery. And so mastery is the comprehensive knowledge or skill in a particular subject or activity, or control or superiority over someone or something. And so in this instance, I would say it is control and superiority over something. And that something is your health. Okay. In order for you to have lasting change, I don't want you to lose 12 kilos in 2 weeks. Like, that'll be great. But what I want you to do is lose 12 kilos if it's 6 months, but then keep it off for the rest of your life. And I've seen countless clients, Real Meals clients, competitors clients, show before and after pictures, and 6 months later, they've put the weight back on. And so that means that they have the skill, but they are not masters of the skill. And so what mastery looks like, if you want to test, like, am I a master? Have I mastered this? We have to look at if your health practices are automatic. And this is a James Clear slide from Atomic Habits. But automaticity means it is automatic. So something that is automatic is like brushing your teeth. When you brush your teeth, do you think like, ooh, I really should, ooh, I really shouldn't, I don't know if it's the right thing to do? No. When you wake up in the morning, you do your thing, and then there is a point in the morning where you brush your teeth. Now, the real test is if someone dies, will you stop doing this thing that is automatic. And so when you brush your teeth, when it's brushing your teeth, if someone dies, do you keep brushing your teeth? Maybe you have like 2 or 3 dark days where you don't look after yourself, which is pretty normal for grief. But in general, you hop back on the bus and you keep brushing your teeth. That is what health needs to look like for you. If someone dies, it doesn't impact how well you look after your health. That is what it means when it's automatic. And that is when you have mastered it, when it's second nature and you just do it. So that's what I'm talking about when I say mastery. But I want you to think about how great it would be. So that might sound terrifying and scary and big, but take a moment and think about what you would do if you did master your health. If you're able to stay at a healthy weight, if you had good energy levels, you were sleeping well, what would you do with that extra energy that you had, or that self-confidence? Who would you spend it with? And what would that feel like? Just think about it for a second. Like, how would it feel if you could fit into the clothes that you loved and you had the energy to spend time with the people you loved? You could roll on the floor with your grandchildren, and you could go walk up a mountain just if you felt like it, and you had the energy to do it. It wasn't like a mission. Okay. So I want to talk about the study of one. And the reason I talk about the study of one is because we were criticized for being a one size fits all. And unfortunately, when you release a book, your book has a whole lot of stuff in it. And our book taught people how to do the diet. And what it didn't teach people was how to actually manage an entire journey through a weight transformation, and how to make tweaks depending on your body type, and how to handle social occasions. And so I've said here, every space body is different. And I say space because PowerPoint told me that it was a spelling error. But everybody is different, and everybody's different. So your habits are different, your preferences are different, and your body responds differently to different foods. So how to use Banting or keto to find the study of one, or to master the study of one, is quite a big topic, but I'll give you some key points. So the study of one is the idea that there isn't a one size fits all, and that there are basic ground rules to what will make you healthy. And the study of one is the study that you take on yourself on the journey to mastery, to find out exactly what works for you and what doesn't, and then go forward. So it's not like, oh, the rules of Banting don't work for me, or the rules of paleo don't work for me, or the rules. It's not about rules that do or don't work for you. It's about what actually works for your biology. And so I have a lot of people who have mastered weight loss and then said, oh no, it wasn't sustainable. But if you were a healthy weight, that means that was probably the right diet for you, and what wasn't sustainable is that you hadn't made it work for the rest of your life. And there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes behind that. But the rules of Banting are quite simple. On the red list, it's no sugar, gluten, or seed oils. And then we have this light red list, which is actually a key point in the study of one, which I'll touch on now. And that is that the light red list is actually high carb, but it has not necessarily got seed oils or gluten or sugar, but it is very high carb, and you will still get like processed packaged foods here. But there is a slight differentiation between these two, because these refined carbs are gluten-free flours, so corn flour, rice, all of these foods that are actually healthy for many people, but they're not as unhealthy as stuff on the red list, which has like gluten. In fact, for some people, gluten isn't even an issue. And so this is the first point of differentiation. Then there's medium carb foods that are whole and real on the orange list, and there are low carb foods on the green list. And between the green and the orange list, we have real and whole. We have to be practical about them. And then we have to keep a combination of texture, flavor, and color. And that's to keep food interesting, to keep a good balance of micronutrients going. But these are the general principles. And so when people start at Real Meal Revolution, we encourage them to go all in. So cut out all the crap, focus on eating real food, and focus on cutting your carbs down. And so what happens is you lose weight super fast. People lose up to, we've had someone lose 60 kilograms in 3 months, which is obviously insane. And he started off a very high base of about 275 kilos. But you can lose weight incredibly fast when you cut out all the junk and you go super low carb. But for many people, that's not sustainable. But the reason Banting works is because it cuts out a lot of food that we wouldn't naturally eat. And so humans aren't designed to eat lots of sugar, but we are designed to crave sugar because sugar makes us put on weight and it increases our appetite. And so if you imagine us roaming the plains ages ago, 12,000 years ago, your biology would be designed to make sure that you keep looking for food and that you keep getting fat, because your fat is actually storage for a rainy day. And so we cut these foods out because there isn't actually famine at the moment. And this is like kind of the one area where I don't really think people will ever add this back into their diets. But if you cut out all sugar, that's great. We say as a safety, when you start Banting, cut out gluten, because a lot of people who struggle with their weight struggle with gluten, and gluten is associated with a whole bunch of health ailments. And what you'll find is a lot of achy joints go away, foggy brain in the evenings goes away, that afternoon low where you have like low energy after lunch break, that goes away when you cut out the gluten. And then seed oils. Now, seed oils are slightly different because the seed oils won't necessarily help you lose weight, but they do raise your inflammation. So when you cut out seed oils, what you're doing is you're cutting out a whole lot of hydrogenated vegetable fat. There's controversy around this. I'm not sure why, but previously polyunsaturated fats were promoted, called puffers, and now it's monounsaturated fats that are the hero. And there's still a lot of controversy around saturated fat. Everyone thinks that we tell everyone to like drink butter. That's not the case. The safest fat to have is monounsaturated fat. Saturated fat, many of the keto people are like, yeah, drink the butter. You don't need to drink the butter. Many people say it's not unsafe to drink the butter, but if it's controversial, then don't do it. Just have monounsaturated fat. So cut out seed oils, focus on fruit oils like olive oil, almond oil, macadamia oil, etc. But this isn't going to help you lose weight. This is going to reduce inflammation, and it's going to help balance the level of omega-6s and omega-3s in your blood, which is actually closely related to many heart conditions. And then the sneaky. So the sneaky is where there's a lot of gray, and it's around like how food is packaged and marketed. So when it comes to a vegan seed bar, for instance, many people say, oh, it's vegan, it must be fine. Or a zero sugar soft drink. Oh, well, it's got no sugar and it must be fine. All these health bars. Now, these health bars that say they're protein bars have like a ton of sugar and other processed ingredients in them. So sneaky is the golden rule for being present, keeping your eyes on the packaging and actually reading what's in the package instead of reading what's on the label that tells you how delicious or healthy it is. And this is just one ingredient. Like, I don't know if you can see this if you're watching this on your phone, but isolene, which is obviously some kind of protein, natural oatmeal and raisin bar. It says natural oatmeal and raisin, but like if you look at the list of ingredients, it is insane. There's a whole lot of stuff in there you can't pronounce. So I want you to stay very sharp. And then we have this rule of keeping things as real as possible. And so this is what a real tomato looks like. This is what a real steak looks like. The more real the food is, the better it is for your body, because your body has to work harder to get the nutrients out. It has to break down the fiber. It has to extract it. And as soon as it's processed, it's going to make it easier for your body to get these nutrients, which is going to make your body work less. And in general, it might make you work more. It might make you eat more. For instance, if you had like a cup of tomato juice, it wouldn't make you feel as full as if you had like 3 whole tomatoes, but it would take you less effort to digest the tomato, in which case, you probably end up consuming more calories faster if you were like drinking your foods rather than eating them. And then obviously when things get super processed, they have lots of additives given to them and they become less healthy. So ketchup, that is not a vegetable, no matter what anyone has told you. And obviously we want to avoid foods that are, like tinned meat. But this is where there's gray, because if you can't afford fresh meat, then you got to eat tinned meat. And if you can't afford meat at all, then that's fine. Get your proteins from vegetable sources. But that's not a religion. That's just a matter of practicality. Okay. And in some cases, these semi-processed foods are actually richer in nutrients. So for instance, Italian whole peel tomatoes, they are plucked ripe as anything off the vine in Italy. and then they're cooked in the tin. Whereas in South Africa, they pick tomatoes green, and often they're not really ripened, so you get them green in the shop. And when they're green, they haven't had an opportunity to really mature. They won't be juicy, they won't be delicious, and they won't have nearly as many nutrients in them as a tin tomato. So these are all like nuances that we need to work on. And finally, we want you to stay low carb. But when it comes down to it, this is actually the most important slide, because this is obviously garlic. Garlic has 28 grams of carbohydrate per 100 grams. And in general, if you're eating the Banting diet, you want to be eating ingredients that have less than 5 grams or fewer than 5 grams of carbs per 100 grams. Because that means if you're limited to 30 grams of carbohydrates a day, that means you can eat 600 grams of food and still not be over your carb count. So that's something to remember. Like if you want to eat 600 grams of food, you got to eat foods that are under 5 grams of carbs per 100 grams. If you want to eat a kilogram of foods, then you got to make sure you're eating under 3 grams of carbs per 100 grams per for your ingredients. But there are instances where that's just not practical. And garlic's a perfect example. Garlic is a high carb ingredient that you're going to eat in very small quantities. And this is why we implemented this rule of practicality into Banting. So we didn't want to like rob everyone of a whole lot of great ingredients they could be eating. We'd rather say, understand the principles and then start applying them. Okay, so when it comes to the study of one, what we have to do first is we have to isolate what the biggest problems are. Okay, and if you were at risk of developing lung cancer, the biggest problem you would have is probably smoking. Like that's the problem behavior. Okay. And so if you were developing lung cancer, the last thing on earth you would do is go and exercise, right? What you would probably do is quit smoking. Okay. Because that's what's going to stop that's the biggest thing out there. Now, when it comes to a problem with your weight, a lot of people who have health problems, they start taking medication. Now, taking medication for having a health problem that's caused by an unhealthy lifestyle is like exercising to reverse the damage that smoking does. So the number one priority, if you have a weight issue, is to take away the thing that's causing the weight issue. And if you have a chronic health issue, the number one solution is to take away the thing that's causing the chronic health issue. Now, Banting aside, seed oils aside, all that crap, everyone agrees that processed food, fast food, junk food is unhealthy. There's no dietitian out there who says, yeah, eat some McDonald's, just go for it, hey, that'll be great. No one says that. So the number one priority is to take the crap away and focus on eating foods that human beings were designed to eat. Now, like when it comes down to the micro detail of what we're supposed to eat, that's still up for debate. But in general, human beings ate real food for many years before civilization. And real food meant stuff you could pick, stuff you could kill, and stuff you could dig up. Now, you could not dig up skinny fries from McDonald's, but you could dig up, a root vegetable. You could pick an avocado, and you could definitely steal an egg from an innocent, unsuspecting chicken. And these are the facts. So eat the foods that got us through the last couple thousand years to where we are today. And the chances are you will continue the survival of the human race. But when it comes to finding the study of one, you've got these basic principles: reduced carbs, sugar, gluten, seed oils, processing, and sneakiness, practicality. And so what will happen is you'll start to see your weight drop down, but then you reach a point where your weight's all right and you can start experimenting and you think, okay, well, what happens if I do eat carbohydrates, but I don't eat gluten? Or what happens if I eat gluten, but I still keep my carbohydrates low? What happens if I start eating sugar? And obviously, if you go off the rails and you have a fat binge, that means that there's a behavioral issue. But every single person's different. And the last thing I would want for anyone is for them to think this one rule of Banting or one principle of Banting doesn't apply to me, and therefore Banting is written off or Real Meal Revolution is written off. The purpose of Real Meal is to give you the basics and then say, okay, well, let's refine it. And so what I say is you start on the, if you're looking at these lists, let me stop sharing for a second. If you're looking at the list, you start by cutting out everything. So you cut out everything from red and you start going orange and you watch your limits and then you get your results. And then you start to slowly add back in. So you see, okay, well, I went whole food and low carb. Now I'm going to have whole foods and see what happens if I start eating potatoes and sweet potatoes and having more fruit. And if you put on weight, it means that that's where your biology is set. But if you had these in and nothing happens, but you're able to limit the amount of food you're eating, then that's cool. Then you can start adding these back in and see what happens. And so, for instance, I used to bant quite aggressively when Real Meal came out, and I used to spend my weekends eating crap, drinking quite a lot, and then I would spend the weeks being super strict with banting. But I found that I always had an irritable scalp and I had itchy skin, and I used to take a Texa, which is a like an antihistamine pill. And then I thought, okay, well, let's quit drinking alcohol, because for many other reasons. But so I quit drinking alcohol, and after a year, I noticed that I still had like itchy skin. I could lose weight much more easily, by the way. I kept my weight down much easier without alcohol. But I still used to get hangovers, and I couldn't figure out why. And then eventually I decided, okay, well, let's see what happens if I quit gluten. So I quit gluten, and within 3 months, my itchy scalp had gone away. Within 6 months, I could stop taking my Texa because I wasn't itchy anymore, and I lost more weight. And I looked at it and I realized the hangovers that I was getting, even when I had stopped drinking alcohol, I was actually getting them from drinking non-alcoholic beer. Because non-alcoholic beer, by the way, also like Castle Light, all of these low carb or healthy beers, they contain gluten. And so I realized that for me, the biggest impact that I had, the thing that impacts my weight the most was actually gluten. And so what I found is when I cut out gluten, I could actually eat sugar on occasion. I can eat like quite a lot of carbohydrate, but all I need to do is keep alcohol and gluten out of the picture. Whereas you'll see like white wine, these foods used to be on, or those drinks used to be on the green list. There are a lot of things that are on the green list that I like, I don't really like. And there are a few things on the light red list and even the red list that I do have on occasion. So what I've done is had my study of one, and I've found a way to maintain a sub 83 kilogram weight. I'm 6 foot or 181, so that's like a normal weight for me, without much effort. So I don't have to like put in effort or manage my appetite. I just keep out a few foods, and then I stay the course and maintain my weight. And that's what I want for you. So you go through all the lists, you experiment, you find what works, you cut things out, you put them back, and then see. And that's what the study of one is. So people say, I'm not living the brand. The brand is to find what works for you and then make it work. And for me, that means not necessarily sticking to every single item on the list, because I've used them to learn, and now I have learned. And that's what I want for you. So I don't want you to like take the list, follow it as a religion, and then when you're not sticking to them, think that you're a bad person, even though you're getting good results. The point is that we want the results, not to be, followers of the religion, please. Okay, so the three number one rules of the study of one are cut out before adding in. You have to notice the impact of cutting things out before you add things in. So don't add supplements or super pills or magic this or magic that. Cut the junk out first and then worry about what you add in. Don't take some super shake because it's going to make you lose weight all of a sudden. It's a lie. Then change from I have to what happens if I. And this is critical. So a lot of people follow these rules and they're like, oh my God, I'm never eating a potato again. I don't know if I can do that. A good friend of mine joined our program a while back, and she messaged me and she said, I don't know if I can cut out gluten, sugar, and carbs all at once. And so if you're in that mindset, like, oh my God, this is what I have to do, shift that mindset to say, what happens if I do? What happens if I cut out carbs, sugar, and gluten? I wonder what the results will be. And if you stay curious, you'll find all of these changes much more interesting and exciting. And then the only failure is the failure to learn. So falling off the bus for me is the most exciting thing, when people are like, oh my God, Thursday came along, I fell off the bus. I hate myself. I feel terrible. I can't believe this has happened to me. That's fine. Why did you fall off the bus? What happened? Who was there? What were you doing? Now that's lesson, and that's valuable information to process, because now you can be better prepared for next time it happens. So expect to fail, and just remember that every time you fail, is an opportunity to learn from why it happens and improve next time. Don't be sitting and flogging yourself on the ground saying, you're bad, you suck, you're never going to get this right. No one is going to start on a Monday and say, from this moment on, life will be different. It's impossible. But from this day on, I will have an inquisitive mindset. I will ask the question, what happens if instead of I have to, and every time I fail, I'll turn it into a lesson? Then you can only succeed. So that's how the study of one works. I hope you found that useful. Good morning, whoever just said good morning. I can't read your name, but that's great to see you. How's it going? Now we're going to look at what to measure and when. And I want to move through this quite quickly because I want to get to the good stuff. So we are trying to reduce our level of carbohydrate. My first set of advice, as I said before, is to go by the lists and then cut out the stuff that you don't like and move towards the stuff that you do, or cut out the stuff that's unhealthy, move towards the healthier stuff. When you want to start honing in and getting super technical, my first piece of info is if you cut out the red list, your life will be instantly better. I can guarantee it. You will see results. You will feel better. You'll be energized, etc. But often we plateau, and what we did to get where we are isn't enough to get us where we want to go. And so at some point, we do have to count carbohydrates. But do you have to count carbs forever? No. Okay. You want to count carbohydrates as a learning tool and a practice tool. So people think, oh, if I join Real Meal, I have to track for the rest of my life. I'm not on Real Meal because I'm not tracking, or I am on Real Meal because I am tracking. Like counting carbs or meal tracking is a training tool. And the point of this training tool is for you to learn how much crap is in the food that you're eating, or how much carbohydrates in the food you're eating. And so count carbs for as long as you need to count carbs, for as long as you need to understand how many carbohydrates you're eating in a day. If you count carbs for a week and you've got it nailed, that's great. If you never count carbohydrates, but by sticking to the list, you lose weight, then that's great. Don't ever count carbohydrates. Counting food is not a natural thing to do, but it is a good training exercise to retrain your brain and hone your focus onto the foods that you're eating. But if you get to goal weight and you've never tracked a carb, then you have not cheated the system. You are lucky and you have nailed it. So well done. Then when it comes to the scale, I know people who weigh themselves every day, and I know people who weigh themselves twice a day. Now, especially if you're a woman, you've got competing hormones in your body, you've got a menstrual cycle, which impacts water retention, and we eat and poo throughout the day. I said poo, I'll say it again. We eat, we poo, we wee throughout the day. And what that means is that our weight is changing all the time. And so what you want to do is actually take a look at how much your weight is changing over a longer period of time. So what we recommend is to weigh once a week, but that's probably not even the best way to do it. It might even be better to weigh yourself like once a month, because we don't want you looking at this outcome on a daily basis and obsessing. We want you to focus on the process of eating, enjoying your health, and staying on top of things. But the other reason we don't recommend weighing every day is because weight isn't actually a useful metric. When you are overweight, what you don't like about being overweight is that you don't like the way you look. And the way you look has very little to do with the number on the scale, because the scale is how much you weigh, if that makes sense. And you can't see a kilogram. What you can see is centimeters. And so I believe that the tape measure is mightier than the scale. So these are the three metrics that we measure at Real Meal. But I want to move away from this image because it's actually like it's jarring on the mind. But just because it's so like clinical. But the point of this is tape measure is going to tell you whether or not you can fit into the clothes that you love. And the tape measure is going to tell you whether you're getting smaller. And the reason this is so important is that many people don't lose any weight for long periods of time. In fact, if you start exercising seriously and you start dieting properly, what often happens is people put on weight in the first 2 or 3 weeks because people say, I've had enough, I will eat clean and I will exercise going forward. And what happens is when you start exercising, you start building muscle mass, you also get hungrier. And so your scale goes up. But if you're measuring your centimeters around your waist and around your chest, you're actually getting leaner, which means you are looking thinner. And this is what people want. They want to look thinner and fit into the clothes that they love. They don't want to weigh less. So I know you think you want to weigh less, but you actually want to be thinner and you want to fit into the clothes that you love. And that is a tape measure issue, not a scale issue. So those are the metrics that you should be measuring, not the scale. And you should only be measuring these once a week, preferably on the same day and preferably at the same time. And even better would be once a fortnight. So the tape is mightier than the scale. Remember that. Now, what often happens is people join Real Meal and they are obsessed with ketones. They're like, oh, I'm not in ketosis. I can't tell if I'm in ketosis. Should I use urine ketones? Should I use blood ketones? What's the story here? Okay, here it is. Ketones are a measure of how deep you are into ketosis, which is the metabolic state where you're burning fat for fuel. This is a graph from Steve Finney that we've redesigned just to make it look cooler. But pretty much for optimal ketosis, and optimal ketosis means maximum benefits of ketosis. So clarity of mind, optimal fat burning, etc., etc. And optimal ketosis is about between 2 and 2.5 of your blood ketones. So that is the beta hydroxybutyrate ketone, because there's more than one. There's also like acetone I've actually just forgotten the name. Pardon me. It'll come back to me. Okay. The point is, measuring your blood ketones will tell you how much ketosis you're in. And so what happens is we get clients going, I'm freaking out. I'm not in ketosis. Oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I get into ketosis? For us, we're only interested in measuring your ketones if you're not losing weight. Because if you're losing weight and you're getting thinner and you're losing centimeters and all that stuff, then that's great. You know, that's cool. Keep doing that and you'll keep getting the results. We don't want to rush it, because if you rush it, you know, it's all extreme and focused and you can over obsess. You know, if you're losing weight steadily and you're not stressing out, that's great. Stay at a steady pace and stick to what's comfortable for you. The main reason I say that is because people can be losing centimeters and kilograms, and then they're like freaking out or really upset that they're not in ketosis. And I look at them and say, well, you lost 1 kilogram last week. You lost 4 centimeters on your stomach, and you're upset because you're not in ketosis. They're like, yeah, I'm really bleak. I say, okay, well, and what if ketosis didn't actually matter? And I say, well, then I guess it's fine. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter. You can lose weight without being in ketosis, and you can be in ketosis without losing weight. So ketosis is a measure of ketones. And so what ketosis tells us is that your carbs are low enough, because you will only go into ketosis if you are eating very low carbs. People do go and eat super low carbs and still not manage to get into ketosis. And at the same time, people can keep their carbs very low, but still be eating too much fat and protein, which means they don't lose weight, even though they are in optimal ketosis. So it's not actually as important. But what we do say is, if you are plateaued, so you haven't lost weight in a while, and you think your carbs are low enough, then it's worth measuring your ketones, because that'll tell us, you know, whether your carbs are low enough. So what often happens is someone measures ketones, they're nowhere near ketosis. Then we say, okay, you know, let's go take your carbs to the next level and drop them down even more. And then they go into ketosis, and at the same time, they lose weight. So measuring ketones from our perspective is almost getting too technical, and it's only worth doing if you're stuck and you're on a plateau. But don't obsess about the ketones. Then sugar and A1C. Sugar, people, you know, if you're a diabetic, we're not going to measure this for you. You will be instructed by your doctor. But what we have seen is that people who go on the low carb diet end up in normal ranges. So this would be a healthy range for A1C, which is under 7, and obviously above 7, you start getting into pre-diabetic and diabetic range. And then when it comes to blood glucose, the same. So the healthy range is under 6 for A1C and under 135 for blood glucose. But you just measure this. I mean, I know A1C you have to measure every 3 months. You won't notice a difference any earlier than that. So if you are type 2 diabetic, make sure you have an A1C check before you start ketones, or before you start going keto or Banting, so that you can measure in 3 months and see the impact. That's quite an exciting test to go for. Usually the doctor's like, you should never go on Banting, it's so bad for you. And then in 3 months, they're like, oh my God, What have you done? Thanks so much for not going on Banting. And the patient says, well, actually, I was on Banting, and that's how I lost the weight. Okay. Blood pressure, same thing applies. Please, when it comes to blood pressure, the impact of low carb is severe on, or severe, is that the right word? I want to say severe or aggressive on blood pressure. In other words, if you have high blood pressure, but you are medicated and you start Banting, keep an eye on your blood pressure, because when Banting like kicks in, your blood pressure can drop. And if you're not in communication with your doctor about it, you could actually get very lightheaded and find yourself in a bit of trouble. So your doctor needs to be in the know so that he can de-prescribe the blood pressure meds. Because if your blood pressure is low, you don't need the blood pressure meds. So just bear that in mind, that especially if you're on high blood pressure meds, when you're Banting, you are likely to feel lightheaded, and that's probably because your blood pressure is dropping. We can't de-prescribe your medication. You have to speak to your doctor about that, but stay alert. And that's really exciting, to come off chronic medication. And that often happens within 4 weeks, not even 3 months. And that depends. But the most important metric to measure when you are eating healthily, and let me explain this. We have people saying the diet's not working. And this is a complaint that many keto, do I say competitors, colleagues say, is that a lot of people don't think the diet's working. And what they'll say is, I'm just not losing weight and I'm not getting any thinner. And then we say, okay, well, how's the brain fog? No, gone. How's the sleep? Good. How are the energy levels? Amazing. Cool. How's the gut? No, I'm regular, feeling great. And how are the aches and pains in the lower back? Gone. Skin irritations? Gone. Blood sugar? Yeah, gone. Okay. So what part of the diet's not working? Oh no, I'm not losing weight. Like, okay. So what this means is that your body is actually healing and you feel amazing. And so your entire quality of life has improved, but cosmetically it's not showing. Yes, okay, that's the thing. All right. So what that means is that the metric of like, how do you feel, is basically shooting mercury out the top of the thermometer, but it's not necessarily, you're not losing weight fast enough. And so I just want to challenge you, if you're on this journey and you are plateauing or you're battling to actually shift weight in centimeters, consider all the other benefits that you're having from eating real food and the right amount. And maybe you give your body a bit of a break and say, actually, you know what, like, let's just feel good and heal for a bit. And let's focus on building habits to sustain this good feeling. And over time, we can work on, tweaking it to get better results for the weight. Because how you feel is the best thing. And I've had people say they haven't felt this energized, like 60-year-old and 70-year-old women saying they haven't felt this energized since they were 30 or even in their 20s. And that's powerful. That is a life changed. And that's worth sticking to a diet for, in my opinion. Okay. So how do you feel? If you feel good, it's working. And that is a very, very important metric. So that's what to measure when. Now, finally, there are a few tweaks you can make to break through, because inevitably what happens is, like I said earlier, what you did to get here, like what I did to get to where I am today, might not be enough to get to where I want to go. And so often a plateau is more of an alarm bell saying, okay, so you were eating on the green list and you were counting your carbs, and that got you to your first 20 kilos off. Now you want to get the last 10 off, and you've got to up the ante, because what you've been doing up to now is only enough to get you to this weight. Now you've got to tweak and become almost like more, not more obsessed, but more pedantic about the detail, and start taking the health more seriously. And so the secret weapon, and by the way, when it comes to fasting, this is the ultimate like tool to break a plateau, but it is also something you can do without even starting Banting. Now, I don't like to say this because obviously it's a competing technique, but it's truth, and I'm being authentic. When you fast, you can do intermittent fasting without changing your diet. It's best when you do it in conjunction with a low-carb diet. Jason Fung says that. He's like the god of fasting. But you can get the benefits of fasting without doing that. In fact, if you speak to many people who fast over Ramadan, a lot of Muslim people in Cape Town that I know, spoken to, even my hairstylist or hairdresser, he has to take less insulin over the fast because he's actually fasting for like 12 hours a day, and that regulates his blood sugar. So fasting has an incredible impact on your blood sugar and an incredible impact on weight. So look into fasting. There's 16-8, 24-hour fasts, or OMAD. All these techniques are going to take your weight loss to the next level and smash the plateau. The other thing that we do at Real Meal is we look at your macros. So if you have been tracking, that's a lot of information we can work with. And what often happens is tweaking the percentage of fat and recalculating what your macronutrient ratio is. That's gonna enable you to give your body like a different combination of its key fuels. And what that can do is actually trigger weight loss or increase satiety after meals so that you don't feel like eating as much. I mean, obviously, the first thing you look at is like, how much am I eating? And if you're eating too much, even sticking to your macros won't help. Okay, but tweaking the macros is a very well-known technique for weight loss. A lot of our clients have said that reducing the fat and increasing their protein did wonders for the overall picture. And then high-intensity exercise. So walking is obviously the easiest exercise to start. For some, it's actually lying on the ground and doing stretches, just connecting with the body. But if you've reached the kind of region where you've only got 10 kilos left to lose and you've been quite idle, or I don't know what the other word, idle's like an insult. What's the word for, I'm trying to find, if someone leave it in the comments, what's the word for idle that's not an insult? It's like they say when you are, my vocabulary has ketoacetate, that's the one. Sedentary, that is it. Thank you. Sedentary, thanks, Brendan. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, completely got stuck there. Okay, if you're sedentary and you've lost all the weight, then it's time to start upping the ante, and you can do some serious intensity exercise. Now, what high intensity exercise does is it basically gives your body, like your metabolism, a massive kickstart. And what can happen is, especially if we're doing fasting and keto and calorie restriction for a long time, what we do is we can slow down our base metabolic rate. And when you slow down your base metabolic rate, you actually end up not benefiting from calorie restriction, because your metabolism slows down. And that means that you're just burning less energy. And when you do that, you can actually plateau, and eating less won't actually help. And so what you want to do is keep your metabolic rate high, but keep your food intake at the same level so that you can keep metabolizing all the excess weight that you're carrying. And one of the ways you can do that is by adding in high intensity exercise. I don't recommend adding high intensity exercise in the beginning, because in the beginning, you want to be reducing your appetite, and high intensity exercise is going to make you hungrier. And if you're hungrier, you're going to want to eat more. And Eve says apathetic. Yeah, apathetic's another one, but that's funny. Okay, sleep. Now, sleep has two impacts on weight. The first is that it is it obviously, okay, so the first thing is that it's good for your stress levels. If you're sleeping well, you are energized, you're reducing the level of cortisol in your body, and it's going to make your whole life better. But the main reason sleep actually benefits you is because when you are tired, your decision-making ability is impaired. And as you go through every single day, you accumulate what we call decision fatigue. So every time you say no or make a decision in your best interest that required willpower, you're actually depleting a finite resource of willpower throughout the day. And even a cat nap halfway through the day can improve your level of willpower. It actually it fills the willpower bucket, or it strengthens your decision-making ability. And so when you are tired, you are more likely, this is based on science, by the way, when you're tired, you're more likely to make a bad eating decision than if you are not tired. So if you're working your ass off and you're not sleeping well enough, you're going to find it very, very difficult to actually stick to your guns and maintain some level of focus on your goals. If you're sleeping well, you're resting, exercising, self-care, meditating, doing all the stuff that re-energizes you, you're actually going to find it easier to stick to your guns. So we get a certain type of client who arrives at us, busy as all hell, worked to within an inch of their life, and working 70 hours a week, and they say, I need a I need a weight loss program that's going to suit my lifestyle. And my comment is, well, your lifestyle doesn't really suit any weight loss program. Basically, you're just going to find it incredibly difficult to stick to it. So there are lifestyle tweaks that need to happen. Okay, the final thing is other stuff. So diet and exercise will help you. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the 80% of the other stuff. It's 80-20. 20% of it is eating and exercising, and you can learn as much knowledge as you like about eating and exercising. But at the end of the day, we all know that exercising and eating well is going to make us healthy. It's going to make us feel great. We're just going to feel better. But the 80% of other stuff is what gets in the way of us actually making that decision. Sleep is one of them. Stress is another one. But there's relationships, there's finance, there are all of these other parts of your life that contribute to this decision-making fatigue or acting in your own best interests. And so when it comes down to what's really going to make a difference and make lasting change, it is actually the other stuff that we need to look at. Because if you've been on a diet and a healthy exercise regime in your life, and you were loving it, it was working for you, you were getting results, but you fell off the bus and quit on it, that's not because the exercise or the diet was wrong. That's because there was another area in your life that wasn't necessarily working. And so you've blamed yourself for sucking or failing at sticking to a health transformation. But in actual fact, it's not necessarily your fault and there's no one to blame, but we were looking in the wrong area. So it's not about white knuckling the diet and the exercise. It's about enabling this. And how you enable diet and exercise is by looking at all the other areas of your life and reorganizing them so that there is space for diet and exercise. It's not, you don't suck at health, okay? You might have sucked at making space for it, but no one sucks at health. Everyone deserves health and everyone's worthy of health. So those are some tweaks for breakthrough. I just have one bonus topic, which is on the topic of mastery. And it's just a couple slides. The most important part of mastery is to transform your mind and character. And that goes beyond losing weight and getting fit. It's about an internal transformation. And this internal transformation actually isn't what we think it is, where we transform on the outside first and then transform inside. We have to have an internal transformation that leads to actions. And those actions support the internal transformation, and then we get results. And then we keep reaffirming the internal transformation with more actions. And then they feed back to each other over time. And then there is a complete transformation. So you can't wait for yourself to lose weight to transform. You have to start transforming your mind and the way you see yourself as you're losing weight. Because if you don't transform the inside, what happens is when you get to your desired weight, your goal, you will default back, because we always act in alignment with who we are. That's what I actually mean. And so here's this guy, drunk Jonno. If I still believed I was drunk Jonno, I wouldn't be able to sustain this, because I would be using willpower and I'd be white knuckling every day to make sure I stick to my guns. But because I've had a change in mind and character, this is like a foreign person to me. I don't even remember that guy. But if I still saw myself as the drunk party animal and I was being good, I'm being really good at the moment, it would be impossible to sustain. So we have to find a way to actually go on that journey. And so we have to choose the greatest possibilities for learning. And one of the ways, in a book called Mastery by Robert Greene, he talks about apprenticeship and modeling. And so there are a few rules to apprenticeship that are worth following. Deep observation, in other words, going so deep into what other people have done to create success and looking at the rules and procedures that they've followed. So sure, like Banting, organizing your calendar. Remember I said how we make time and space for our transformation. And then forging a few key bonds and powerful relationships. So for me, I've had amazing mentors over the years. I've had deep observation. Obviously, some of that was like studying business. A lot of it was being absolutely crucified in lawsuits and financial destitution from bad business decisions. And then rules and procedures, just learned how it operates by reading books by people who've done it before. And so it's worth investigating the idea of having some person to model with on your journey. And the next part of a sort of apprenticeship to discover mastery is skills acquisition, and the cycle of accelerated returns, which comes from practicing on one thing. And so you're looking at this picture of Michael Jordan saying, what on earth has this got to do with weight loss? And it speaks to the idea of failing and learning from failure. Michael Jordan, he used to shoot 500 hoops every morning, which is an insane amount of hoops to shoot. And he used to shoot that before practice. So he would shoot 500 hoops. He would just practice. He'd do fitness. They would do whatever they needed to do. But no one was asking him to shoot 500 hoops. But he was so automatic in his shooting of 500 hoops that he was shooting a Pepsi commercial, and the director told him he had to miss 2 shots. And because there was no pressure on him, he was totally centered. He kept trying to miss the hoop, and he'd programmed his mind to just get it in the hoop every single time. If I stand to be corrected, but I think he hit 12 shots in a row before missing for the camera. And so that's how well he had programmed getting the hoop sunk into his brain. And that's what health needs to be like for you. It is like you've practiced it over and over again. You've learned from every mistake. And now you just get it in every single time. And you don't even think about it. And when someone tells you to try and fail, it's almost like, like breaking a neural pathway. Like, what? I don't know how to fail at this. I'm so used to doing it. And that comes from failing a lot. Okay. So failing's good. We want to fail. Okay, and this is a little video I wanted to play you. This is what the apprenticeship mindset looks like. And so we're very hard on ourselves when I fail. And this is a really, really important video to watch. When we fail, we want to beat ourselves up and tell ourselves we're absolute assholes and idiots. I'm the worst. I swear at myself with all the F-bombs you can imagine. And one of the things I learned from Helen Perry, who's a great RMR client, and one of her mentors, a guy called Paul Gilbert, was about compassion. And they talk about compassion for performance, not compassion for like being a softie. Compassion for performance is forgiving yourself and being kind. So not necessarily forgiving yourself, but being kind to yourself when you fail. And at the core of it, they say that you need to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a child learning to walk. Because when a child gets up to try and do something it's never done before, when it falls over from walking, you don't look at the child and go, "You fucking idiot, how could you do that?" You look at the child and you say, "All right, come on, you can do this. Keep going, keep practicing." And you will let that child practice over and over and over again until it succeeds. So watch this video. Let me know if you can hear the music. Okay. So that is what it looks like to master your health. That baby, they only caught on video how many times that baby actually failed. And this is what life looks like when you're learning something new, especially if it's uncharted territory for you. And so that is what a beginner's mindset or an apprenticeship mindset looks like. So every time you see yourself falling off the bus or failing, I want you to take a minute and look at yourself as the baby and see how that dad like ran up to the baby after he bailed and like gave him a big back rub and said, "You keep going, you can do this." That's what it looks like to fail. And that's how we should treat ourselves when we fail. So I'm sure I've covered a lot of stuff and you're probably feeling super confused at the moment. And I know it's Saturday. Everyone wants to go and do their stuff. You know, it's a good weekend to go Christmas shopping before the shit hits the fan in like in 2 or 3 weeks. But I wanted to talk to you about a couple things that we've got going on at Real Meal Revolution. There is an epic deal running at the moment. And so if you'd like me to tell you about it, I need you to say, yes, Jonno, tell us about the stuff that we can do at Real Meal Revolution, because we've actually got a service that can guide you through the exact process that I've just guided you through. So hit the comment button, hit yes, hit like, and as soon as one person gives me permission, I will walk you through the program that I've got, and I've got a little special deal for you that you can think about over the weekend. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we've got a yes, please. Alrighty. So Real Meal Revolution, like I said earlier, we deal in transformation. We want people to change their lives. We're not in for the quick fix. We don't want you to just lose 10 and leave. We want to work with you to actually transform your entire relationship with food. Okay. So I'll tell you, this is Tessa. Tessa is still in the comments somewhere. And this is a quote from Tessa when I interviewed her about becoming a coach. So Tessa transformed her life, and then she became a coach, and now she's dedicated her life to helping people have the same transformation that she had. And she says, "I remember so clearly when I almost gave up on myself and became a retired fat old lady who couldn't do anything." And she says she hated herself. And then having changed all of that around, just loved the idea of working with people who have found themselves in that same really dark space when they try and disappear into the background. To be part of that transformation is an amazing journey to go on someone with. So that's Tessa, and she is one of our coaches. And then Sharon is another one of our coaches, Sharon Atkins, aka Super Shazza. She says, "The low carb way is my life, and I want to share this amazing lifestyle with as many people as I can." Now, what Sharon doesn't say here is that she also has her own tweaks to the Banting food lists, and she's made them work for her. So Sharon's also gone through quite an extensive low carb transformation. She was writing about keto before Real Meal Revolution actually came out. So she's hugely experienced, and she's another one of our fantastic coaches. And so we do have a one-on-one coaching program at Real Meal. And how it works is you have a check-in with your coach. It's actually not fortnightly, it's every 3 weeks, but you have a check-in with your coach where you set goals. You set clear, measurable, achievable goals, but just for 3-week periods. So it's not like this goal for a year's time, lose 40 kilograms. You take that goal and break it down into small edible chunks where you can be held accountable. And that's what you have your little check-in with your coach. And so you set a short-term goal, like I said, where the goal is to achieve X in the time that we have together, but we anchor that on a long-term goal, which is like the way you see your life in the future. So where do you want to be when you're old? And you talk about a vision that you have for your future, and then you link those together. And this is stuff that the coach will work with you on. And then you decide on stuff that you can actually check in on every day. So we decide on some habits and some processes we'll stick to. So some of the stuff that you might stick to is a fasting regime, which you'll discuss, or a few key recipes that you need to learn, or just to stick to your macros. And you and your coach are going to agree on these things that you're going to check in on. And then you be in contact daily over WhatsApp. And you also have your coach on WhatsApp at any stage to ask questions. Can I eat this product? What will this do? I'm not feeling great, etc. And the coach is going to be there to sort of hold your hand and guide you through the process. Now, that is the coaching program. Now, with the coaching program, we've beefed it up quite a lot. Okay, so if you watched the Finish Strong deal that I was promoting the other day, we have a bundle that goes with this coaching program. So we have a 12-week online course, which gives you all the foundation knowledge that Real Meal Revolution believes. All of the keto experts have lectures in there. There's a meal plan every week. There are lectures on transformation, on goal setting, and then they're weekly guiding emails that guide you through the process. Then we also have a series of expert workshops, and these workshops, so that's Bridget Surtees. She's my co-author on Raising Superheroes, the kids book, with Tim Noakes and I. And then she also she actually consulted for the Noakes Foundation for a while, but basically she's South Africa's one of the 2 top keto dietitians in South Africa. And then we have Victoria Webster, who is a clinical psychologist. We're in a partnership with her and another program called the Eating Psychology Online Transformation Program. And so each of us has a series of 12 lectures or workshops that we run. And we do these live on Zoom every week and for a 12-week cycle. And so these are actually like 3 separate live online courses that come included in this bundle. And if you aren't able to watch them on the day, we send recordings every Friday. And so this is a live expert workshop. It's worth, I mean, we started for 1,500 Rand, but to be honest, each one of these series is worth about 6 grand on its own. But let's just say 1,500. And then we have a web app, and this web app is 200 Rand a month, but it's got all of our resources. So it's got all of our recipes, all of our meal plans. It's got all of the tracking tools where you can track a lot of the things that I mentioned in the what to measure and when section of this webinar. It is a super cool piece of tech. It's mobile friendly, and you can download meal plans, print shopping lists, and get cracking instantly. And so the coaching offer at the moment is that you get 3 months of coaching, which we would charge 6,500 Rand for. You get a 1,500 Rand online Banting course, the 1,500 Rand or 500 Rand a month for 3 months of the habit program, which includes these live workshops and a lot of habit building theory or transformation theory. 3 months of the web app, and if you buy now based on this offer, we will throw in a 2,000 Rand discount. Now that is worth 12,000 Rand. And before I go any further, I have to mention that a lot of people think this is the worst time of the year to start. This is the best time of the year to start, because January, everyone thinks January is going to be clean sailing. But what happens in January, I'm a boss, so I know this. In January, I'm going to hit the ground running with work. And I know I want every single ounce of all of my people to be working their asses off from January. And so we have this idea that when we hit January, it's going to be easier. And it presents a new year full of opportunity. And so we decide that's when we're going to start our new transformation. And we think that the Christmas, like the festive season is going to be easier next year for some reason. Like there's going to be less cake and less champagne. But the thing is, every year we put on weight over Christmas and then we promise ourselves we'll lose in January. And what happens? The kids go back to school. The boss gives you all the deadlines, and the year just goes crazy. And then we forget about our New Year's resolutions by the end of Jan. And so if you go into December focused on your health, remember what I said about failing earlier on. You're going to be presented with ample opportunity to fail and ample opportunity to exercise or practice that beginner's mindset where you say, okay, well, what did I learn there? What did I learn there? Ooh, I was unprepared. I didn't phone. I didn't have this conversation with this person. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what these foods were. So you're going to have all these opportunities to learn. And in January, when everyone else is doing their 2-week stint of their New Year's resolution, you will have learned so much from the festive season with your coach and just from your own experiences while focusing on your health. And so for this 3-month program, if you had to buy all of these individually, it would be 12,000 Rand. And 12,000 Rand is a bloody good deal for a 12-week course, 3 months of three workshops. I mean, 3 online courses with live lectures. It's like outrageous. But we sell the coaching program at the moment for 6,500 for 3 months if you pay upfront. And if you buy it with this deal now, we will give you a 2,000 Rand discount and we will give you a 500 Rand, a 2,000 Rand discount on the eating psychology program, which starts in January. So you got time to think about that. And I will give you a coupon code that gives you a 500 Rand discount on the coaching program. And so I'm going to keep the room open for a bit, and I will take any questions in the live. And what I am going to do, I'm going to see if I can get, this is live now. I'm going to, while I'm waiting for questions to show up, I'm just going to hang out, really. Just going to wait. If anyone would like to ask a question, we'll see if we can get Tessa in the live broadcast to come and chat about her experience as a coach. Questions, anyone, feel free. When does it start? When does it stop? You can start whenever you like, and you can finish. You don't need to cancel. There's no need to cancel. You can stay on whenever you like. I'd like to start a diet on a Friday, better than a Monday. Yes. Yeah. In fact, our week runs from Friday to Thursday, because Friday is the day that you get all your stuff, and then Friday you get all your information, you learn how it works, and then Saturday, Sunday you do all your shopping and you get cracking on Monday. It's strange because we get a lot of signups on a Sunday night, and I wonder what's in the mindset where someone says tomorrow it's going to be different, but at like 8 p.m. signing up to a program. It's always better to sign up during the week and then spend the weekend preparing. So you can cancel any time, and you basically forge a relationship with your coach. Your coach is going to focus on what you want to focus on. So if you want to lose weight, the focus on weight, they're going to set goals around weight. If you want to focus on making it fit with your schedule and eating real food, then they'll adjust the rules, according to what you need. Originally started late in the year as well. It meant I had a head start on everyone else by January. Brendan Reed knows what he's talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man who has mastered the skill, I hope. Brendan, have you mastered the skill of weight loss? Yes. Cool. Let's see if Tess is coming. I've sent her the link, but I think she's out and about. She hasn't read the message yet. So we'll have to get her on to have a little chat about it in time. But let's leave it at that. I'm gonna drop when I finish this. I'm gonna drop I'm gonna put the link with the 500 Rand gift voucher in it. Into the comments. So keep an eye on the comments. Take the voucher. It expires at the end of this weekend. So it'll expire on, what's the date today? The 21st of November. And if you need to speak to anyone, Wendy is in the comments. Wendy, can you drop your number and your email address, and you can chat to her about it. Oh my goodness. Brendan Reed lost 50 kilograms in 15 months. That is superhuman. Well done. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this Saturday morning. It's been amazing. I hope you learned a thing or two. And go and check out. Hang on. Let me give you the info page for coaching, because I can see that's not in the comments. Alrighty, it's coming. There we go. Okay, so I've left the information on the keto coaching course in the comments, and we'll see you on the other side. Alrighty, all the best, peeps. Have a wonderful weekend. Drop us a message if you get stuck, and email support if you get stuck. I'll leave the details in the comments now. Bye.